The first thing that hit me wasn't the sight of anything. It was the smell. A strange blend of cheap cologne and something burning faintly, like a candle that had been snuffed out too fast. My house never smelled like that. Hannah always used that lavender diffuser I hated but pretended to like. This was different. Wrong. I knew something was off the second I pushed open the front door. I didn't call her name. I didn't drop my bag. I just stood there, listening. The house was unnervingly alive. A faint clink of glass, the sound of a chair moving, and, God help me, a soft laugh. A man's laugh. It was so quiet, like they were trying to keep it a secret. My heart started hammering like I'd been running, but my brain was weirdly calm, almost detached. I thought, no way. No way this is what I think it is. I'm the guy who always assumes the best, always finds a reason to believe everything is fine. But standing there, in my own hallway, I couldn't ignore the icy feeling crawling up my spine. I moved slowly, like every step would crack the illusion I was desperately clinging to. Our family photos stared at me from the walls, Hannah and I at the lake, smiling like idiots, like we had it all figured out. Those faces felt like strangers now, mocking me as I crept closer to the living room. The voices grew clearer. Hers, soft and warm, almost playful. His, deeper, with that fake confidence that makes you want to punch someone you haven't even met. They were talking about something mundane, music, of all things, but every word felt like betrayal. And then I saw it. Not them, not yet, but the scene. A wine bottle, half empty, on the coffee table. 2 glasses, one with a lipstick mark that wasn't faded like it would have been if she'd been waiting for me. Her sweater, my favorite one on her, folded over the armrest, like she had just peeled it off. I felt my chest tighten as I stepped forward, the edge of the wall now between me and the truth I didn't want to face. Part of me wanted to run out the door and never look back. The other part wanted to see everything, every awful detail, just to make sure I wasn't crazy. Then her laugh cut through the silence again. Only this time it was closer, followed by a whisper I couldn't quite make out. My hand brushed against the wall as I leaned forward, my breath caught in my throat. That's when I saw him. He was sitting on my couch like he owned it, one arm draped over the back, the other holding his wine glass with this smug tilt, like every moment in life belonged to him. He wasn't some random guy, either. He looked polished. Crisp white shirt, top button undone like he'd just stepped out of some overpriced bar where people pretend they're too good for beer. His shoes were on my rug. I don't even let myself wear shoes on that rug. Hannah sat beside him, not close enough to scream, caught red-handed, but close enough for my chest to tighten like someone was wringing my lungs. Her legs were curled up on the couch, and her hair, God, I noticed everything, was down, cascading over her shoulder. She was smiling at him. Not just smiling, but that smile. The one I hadn't seen in months. The one that used to be just for me. I didn't walk in. I stood there like a shadow, my body completely frozen. Every second I hesitated felt like a century. I was waiting for her to look up, for her to see me and realize how badly she'd messed up. But she didn't. She reached for her glass, brushing her hand against his knee as if it was the most natural thing in the world. I swear I felt my stomach turn inside out. The guy leaned in, just a little. He said something I couldn't hear, but I didn't need to. The tone said everything. That low, smooth whisper meant for someone he wasn't supposed to be touching. She laughed again, softer this time, tilting her head like she was letting him have her full attention. Like I wasn't even in the picture. I felt stupid, like the butt of some cosmic joke. I wanted to storm in, yell, demand answers, but my legs wouldn't move. Instead, my brain started spinning with all the things I should have noticed. The late-night work calls, the way she locked her phone screen whenever I walked by, the sudden new obsession with going to the gym on Saturdays. How blind had I been? Then it happened. He reached out and touched her chin, lifting her face like she was some prize he'd just claimed. She didn't pull back. She didn't even flinch. Instead, she smiled, this slow, warm smile that shattered me into 1,000 pieces. I almost made a sound then, some pathetic gasp or cry, but I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood. My vision blurred for a second, and I realized I was shaking. Not the angry kind of shaking you see in movies, but the weak, hollow kind. The kind that comes from realizing your world is slipping out from under you, and you're powerless to stop it. That was when his hand slid onto her thigh. I don't even remember deciding to move. 1 second I was rooted to the floor, my nails digging into the wall like it could hold me together, and the next I was stepping out from behind the corner, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The sound of my own voice startled me. "What the hell is this?" I said, but it came out quieter than I wanted, almost shaking. They both froze like they'd been caught in headlights. Hannah's eyes widened, and for a split second, I thought I saw guilt. But then her expression shifted to something worse, annoyance. Like I was the problem for being there. The guy, though? He just leaned back casually, like he'd been expecting me all along. He didn't even look surprised. That smugness on his face didn't fade. I hated him instantly, and I hated myself even more for standing there like a fool, trying to process how my life had just collapsed in front of me. "Leonard," Hannah finally said, her voice way too calm for someone caught in this situation. "You weren't supposed to be home yet." The words hit me harder than anything. You weren't supposed to be home yet. As if this scene, her and this stranger on my couch, with their half-drunk wine and cozy whispers, was completely fine as long as I wasn't there to see it. I felt this wave of humiliation wash over me, burning from my chest to my face. The guy chuckled under his breath. "Guess we're skipping introductions," he said, like this was some sort of joke, like I wasn't standing there watching my marriage implode. I couldn't even respond. My mind was spinning too fast, trying to find any explanation, any excuse, anything other than the obvious truth staring me in the face. Hannah stood up, smoothing her hair like nothing was wrong. "This isn't what you think," she said. The cliché of it almost made me laugh. "Not what I think." "So, what? Was he here to talk about taxes while touching your thigh?" I could feel this bitter, broken laugh bubbling in my throat, but I swallowed it down. I didn't want to give her or this guy the satisfaction of seeing me crack. Still, I couldn't hold it in for long. "Do you even realize how insane this looks?" My voice came out higher than I wanted, shaking with anger, fear, and whatever else was tangled up inside me. "You're sitting here with him. Who even is this guy? Did you seriously think I wouldn't find out?" She crossed her arms, defensive now, like I was accusing her of something unreasonable. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she said. "Nothing happened. Nothing." I took a step closer, pointing at the wine glasses, at her flushed face, at the guy who was now smirking at me like he'd already won. "You think I'm stupid? You think I can't see what's going on here?" For a moment, neither of them said anything. The silence was so thick it felt like I was suffocating. My throat burned, my eyes stung, and I realized my hands were trembling. Not just from anger, but from the raw weight of betrayal. Then, as if to make everything worse, the guy stood up. He was taller than me, of course. Broad shoulders, perfect posture, the kind of guy you'd expect to see leaning against a car in some magazine ad. He glanced at Hannah, then at me, and said, "Maybe I should go. Maybe I should go." Like this was just some awkward misunderstanding at a dinner party, not the moment my entire marriage was unraveling. "No," I snapped, my voice cracking. "You're not going anywhere. Not until someone tells me what's really going on here." That was when Hannah finally broke eye contact. She looked down at the floor, and for the first time since I walked in, I saw her facade crack. That tiny hesitation told me everything I needed to know. I didn't say anything for a long moment. I just stood there, staring at Hannah, waiting for her to look up and give me something. Anything that would make this mess make sense. But she wouldn't meet my eyes. It was like the floor had suddenly become the most interesting thing in the world. That silence, that refusal to even look at me, was worse than anything she could have said. My throat felt tight, my chest heavy, like every breath was dragging glass down my lungs. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Hannah, say something. Right now?" My voice wasn't even angry at this point. It was just broken. The guy didn't move, didn't even flinch. He just stood there, looking like he was waiting for her to give the green light to either stay or walk out. His calmness made me feel like I was losing my mind. Who was this guy, and why did he look so comfortable standing in my living room with my wife? When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter than I expected. "Leo, you weren't supposed to see this." Those words felt like a punch to my chest. I actually laughed, this dry, humorless laugh that I barely recognized as my own. "What? I wasn't supposed to see what exactly? You and him? Drinking wine in the house I pay for? Are you kidding me right now?" My voice cracked, the last word coming out almost like a whimper. I hated that I sounded weak, but I couldn't stop myself. She sighed, still not looking at me, and said, You've been gone for days. We don't talk anymore, Leo. You're always tired. You don't even notice me anymore." Her words were sharp, but there was something shaky under them, like even she didn't fully believe what she was saying. I stepped closer, my hands clenched so tight they hurt. "Don't even try to put this on me. Don't you dare act like this is my fault. I could work 20-hour days and still come home to you. I've been killing myself trying to give us a good life, and this is what I get?" I gestured toward him, toward the whole humiliating scene. "This is what you've been doing while I'm out there losing sleep for us." The guy finally decided to open his mouth. "Hey man, relax. Don't," I snapped, pointing a finger at him, my voice shaking so badly it almost scared me. "Don't say a word. I swear to God, if you say one more thing, I stopped myself. I'm not that guy. I'm not the type to throw punches, but in that moment, I could feel my whole body trembling with the urge to do something, anything, to make this surreal nightmare end. Hannah stepped between us like she thought I might actually do it. "Stop," she said sharply. Then she turned to me, finally meeting my eyes, and I saw it. Fear. Not fear of me, but fear of this moment. Fear of the truth coming out. "Leo, we need to talk." "Talk?" I spat the word out like it was poison. "Now you want to talk?" No, we're past talking, Hannah. You tell me, right here, right now, what the hell this is." Her lip trembled. For a second, I thought she might cry, but instead, she just stood there, silent. My mind was spiraling. Every second of silence felt like another knife twisting in my back. And then, finally, she said it, in the smallest voice I'd ever heard from her. "I made a mistake." That was it. 3 little words that didn't even scratch the surface of what I needed to hear. My knees went weak, and I had to sit down on the edge of the coffee table, my hands clutching my face. I didn't want to hear any more. I didn't want to know the details, but I also needed to know everything. My heart was pounding so loud I barely registered what she said next. "Leo, I don't know how to fix this." I sat there on the edge of the coffee table, staring at the floor because I couldn't look at either of them without feeling like my chest was being crushed. My mind kept flickering between images of our wedding day and the wine glasses on the table in front of me, like my brain was desperately trying to rewrite reality and failing miserably. Hannah stood there in silence, wringing her hands like a kid caught lying. And this guy, this nameless intruder, had the audacity to look almost bored. I hated him for that. I hated myself more for not standing up and throwing him out right there and then. My mouth felt dry as I forced myself to speak. "Who is he?" My voice cracked on the word, "who?" Like I wasn't just asking a question, but begging for an explanation. She hesitated, and I could see the gears turning in her head, as if she was trying to come up with a way to soften the blow. Finally, she said, "This is Ethan." She said it like I should know who that was, like that name meant something to me. "Ethan," I repeated, looking directly at him for the first time. He smiled faintly, this smug, practiced smile that made my skin crawl. We worked together," Hannah added quickly, as if saying it fast would make it hurt less. My mind immediately went back to the countless late nights she claimed she was stuck at the office. All those times she came home smelling like wine, saying she'd had just one drink with the team. Was this the guy she'd been drinking with? Was this the colleague who'd been taking up the hours that used to belong to me? I stood up abruptly, and Ethan took a step back, but he didn't look scared, just cautious, like he was dealing with a wild animal. "So what?" I asked, my voice rising despite my attempts to keep it steady. "You bring your coworker here while I'm gone? You sit on my couch, drinking my wine, laughing like this is some kind of joke?" My words were spilling out faster than I could think. I wanted answers, but I also wanted to rip this entire scene out of my life like a bad page in a book. Hannah stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Leo, please, just calm down. It's not what you think." I laughed, this broken, almost hysterical laugh that sounded like it came from someone else entirely. "Not what I think. What do you want me to think, Hannah? That you and this guy are here discussing quarterly reports while he's touching your hand, and you're smiling like I'm invisible?" My voice cracked again, but I didn't care. Every word felt like it was burning my throat on the way out. Ethan cleared his throat, like he was about to say something, and I snapped my head toward him. "Don't you dare." My voice was quiet but sharp enough to cut through the air. He shut his mouth but didn't take his eyes off me. There was something about his calmness that made me want to break something. And then Hannah said the words I'd been dreading. "Leo, I've been seeing him for a while." For a moment, Everything around me just stopped. I didn't hear the clock on the wall. I didn't feel my hands shaking. I didn't even breathe. Those words echoed in my head like a bell tolling the end of something sacred. I stumbled back a step, my legs suddenly too weak to hold me. How long? I whispered, my voice barely audible. She hesitated, and in that pause, I already knew I didn't want the answer. But she gave it anyway. A few months. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. All the little moments, all the signs I ignored because I trusted her, they all came flooding back like a cruel montage. The late texts, the canceled date nights, the time she turned away when I tried to kiss her. I sank into the couch, burying my face in my hands, because I didn't want them to see the tears burning in my eyes. I hated myself for crying in front of him, but I couldn't stop. Why? I managed to choke out. Was I not enough? Did I do something? Was I just not enough for you? My voice broke on the last word, and I felt like a child, begging for something I'd already lost. Hannah knelt down in front of me, reaching for my hand, but I pulled it away like her touch burned. Leo, I don't know when it happened. I didn't plan this. I swear I didn't. But you've been so distant. I felt like I was disappearing in this house, like I was just a ghost you passed by on your way to bed. Her words stung, not because they weren't true. I had been distant lately, exhausted from work, but because they felt like excuses for something I couldn't forgive. I looked up at Ethan then, really looking at him. And for the first time, I realized there was something familiar about him, something I should have recognized sooner. Wait, I said slowly, my voice dripping with disbelief. You're the guy from that office party last year. The one who couldn't stop making jokes while I was standing right there, like I didn't even exist. You've been after her since then, haven't you? He didn't answer, but his silence told me everything. I don't even remember standing up, but suddenly I was on my feet, facing both of them like I was cornered in my own home. The air in the room felt heavy, thick with the kind of silence that makes your ears ring. Ethan had that same arrogant calm plastered on his face, like he'd already won some invisible battle I didn't know I was fighting. Hannah just stared at me, her eyes red but dry, as if she had no more tears left to shed. And me? I was a mess of shaking hands, pounding heart, and a voice that kept cracking no matter how hard I tried to hold it together. You've been after her since that party, haven't you? I said again, louder this time. Ethan didn't answer. He just tilted his head slightly, like he was deciding if I was worth speaking to. That silence enraged me more than any confession ever could. Say something, I demanded. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you didn't look at my wife like she was some prize you could take when I wasn't around. Finally, he sighed, as if this entire confrontation was nothing but a minor inconvenience for him. Look, man, he started. I don't think this is the kind of conversation you want to have with me. You and Hannah. Don't you dare say her name like you know what we have. I snapped, my voice so loud it startled even me. My vision blurred for a second, and I realized I was clenching my fists so tight my knuckles were white. I could feel something inside me breaking, something that had held me together for years. Do you know what I've done for her? For us? Every single late night at work, every canceled weekend with my friends, every sleepless night, trying to make sure she never wanted for anything. Do you even understand what that means? Hannah stepped closer, her voice trembling but firm. Leo, stop. You're not listening. This isn't about work or money or anything you've given me. No, Hannah. I interrupted, my voice hoarse. Don't twist this. Don't you dare tell me this is my fault because I was tired or because I didn't look at you the way he does. I would have burned this entire world down if it meant you'd feel loved. And this is how you repay that? She flinched at my words, but she didn't deny them. She just stood there, staring at me with this hollow expression, like she didn't even recognize me anymore. And maybe she didn't. Maybe I didn't recognize myself, either. I felt like a stranger in my own skin, standing in the ruins of something I thought was unbreakable. Then Ethan decided to open his mouth again, and that was my breaking point. Man, you're making this harder than it needs to be, he said, with that tone, that infuriating calmness, like I was the unreasonable one for losing my mind while he stood there in my living room. Hannah and I cut him off with a yell I didn't even know I was capable of. Get out of my house. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. Right now? Before I do something I'll regret. I wasn't threatening him. I wasn't even sure what I'd do, but the words came out raw, trembling with the kind of pain I couldn't bottle anymore. He didn't move. He just looked at Hannah, waiting for her to decide. And that, right there, was the worst part. He didn't look at me. He looked at her. Like she was the one who held all the power, like my presence didn't even matter. And when she didn't tell him to leave, when she just stood there staring at the floor, I felt something inside me snap. "Do you want him here?" I asked, my voice low but sharp, cutting through the silence. She didn't answer right away, and that hesitation, God, that hesitation, told me more than her words ever could. "Answer me, Hannah. Do you want him here?" When she finally looked up, her eyes were wet and her lips trembled. "Leo, I don't know what I want anymore." It felt like someone had pulled the ground out from under me. I just stood there, staring at her, trying to comprehend how the woman I'd built my entire life around could say something so devastating in such a quiet, almost apologetic tone. I felt small, weak, like I was just a ghost floating through a house that wasn't mine anymore. Ethan took a step toward the door then, muttering something under his breath, but I didn't even process it. My focus was locked on Hannah, on the cracks in her voice, on the way her words hung in the air like smoke that wouldn't clear. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. Her words hung in the room like a ghost I couldn't banish. "I don't know what I want anymore." That sentence spun in my head like a broken record, cutting deeper each time I replayed it. For years, I thought I knew everything about her. Her favorite song, the way she hates waking up without coffee, the exact sound of her laugh when something truly catches her off guard. And now, here she was, standing in front of me, telling me that not only had she let someone else into our life, but she wasn't even sure if she still wanted me in it. I felt like I'd just been erased, like every memory we shared was being rewritten by someone I didn't recognize anymore. I sank back down onto the couch, not because I wanted to, but because my legs didn't feel like they could hold me up any longer. My hands were shaking so badly I had to press them against my knees to stop it. I stared at the floor, at the rug I'd picked out with her, the one we argued over for weeks because I thought it was too expensive and she insisted it made the room feel warm. Now, that rug felt like it belonged to strangers. "Hannah," I said finally, my voice raw, almost whispering. "How long has this been going on? Don't give me vague answers. Don't try to spare me. I want the truth. Every bit of it. I deserve that much, don't I?" She looked at me, and for the first time all night, I saw real fear in her eyes. Not fear of me, but fear of what she was about to say. "A few months," she said quietly. "It started. I don't even know when. We were just talking at work, and then I started looking forward to seeing him. It was stupid. I know it was. But then you were gone all the time, Leo, and I felt like I didn't exist anymore. Like you didn't see me." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that I did see her, that every exhausting day at work was for her, that the reason I was so tired was because I was killing myself to make her life easier. But the words caught in my throat. I realized, with this dull ache, that she didn't want to hear that. She'd already found someone who made her feel seen, and it wasn't me. I turned to Ethan, who was standing near the door now, as if he was ready to leave but also curious to watch me crumble. "Did you know?" I asked, my voice trembling but sharp. "Did you know she was married when you started this?" He hesitated, but only for a second. "Yeah," he said, and there was no shame in his tone. Just a casual honesty, like he was talking about the weather. "She told me." I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound that felt like it came from somewhere deep and broken inside me. "You told him?" I looked back at Hannah, my chest heaving. "You told him you were married, and he still came here, and you let him? Do you even realize what that means? Do you even care?" Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she might cry. "I didn't plan this, Leo. I swear I didn't. It just happened. I didn't want to hurt you." "Didn't want to hurt me?" My voice cracked as I stood again, my hands shaking so hard I had to shove them in my pockets. "You're sitting here telling me you've been seeing someone else for months, in our home, and you didn't want to hurt me? What the hell do you think this is?" She looked like she was about to say something, but I cut her off. I wasn't finished. "Do you even remember what you promised me? On our wedding day, when you looked me in the eye and said there was no one else, there would never be anyone else? Did that mean nothing to you?" She flinched, and for a moment, I saw something. Regret, maybe, or guilt. But it didn't matter anymore. The damage was done, and no amount of regret could erase the image of her sitting on that couch, smiling at him the way she used to smile at me. I turned to Ethan again, my voice low and shaking. "Get out of my house. Now, before I do something I can't take back." He glanced at Hannah, as if waiting for her to stop him, but she didn't say a word. So he left, just like that, slipping out the door with his smug face and his perfectly pressed shirt, leaving me alone with the ruins of my marriage. I heard the door click shut, and the silence that followed was deafening. Hannah sat down on the arm of the couch, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. "Leo," she said softly, "I don't know how we got here." I stared at her for a long moment, my chest tight, my mind spinning. "We got here because you stopped fighting for us," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. "And maybe I did too. But this," I gestured around the room, at the wine glasses, at the space where Ethan had just stood. "This is not how you fix things." The silence after Ethan left was crushing, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes every thought feel heavier. Hannah sat there, her hands clasped in her lap, her eyes darting anywhere but toward me. I stood in the middle of the room, breathing hard, my mind spinning in circles. I'd spent years building a life around us. Our house, our plans, our dreams. And now, standing there, I realized that the one thing I never prepared for was this. The possibility that it could all fall apart, not because of a huge fight or a tragic event, but because one of us simply stopped choosing the other. I looked at her, and for the first time that night, I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity. I saw her not as the woman who betrayed me, but as someone who had already stepped out of the circle we built together. And if she had walked away, maybe it was time I stopped holding on so tightly to something that wasn't mine anymore. "Hannah," I said softly, and my voice was steady now. "I don't think you know what you want. And maybe that's okay. But I can't be the guy who waits around, hoping you'll wake up one morning and decide I'm enough again." Her lip trembled, and for a moment, I thought she might argue, but instead she nodded, a single tear slipping down her cheek. "I'm sorry, Leo," she whispered. "I'm so sorry for everything." I sat down, not because I wanted to collapse, but because I needed to say this while looking her in the eye. "I loved you more than I ever thought I could love anyone. And maybe that's why this hurts so much. But I also love myself enough to know I can't live like this. I won't let this break me." She reached for my hand, but I pulled away, not in anger, but with a quiet finality. "I think we need time apart," I said. "Real time. No calls, no texts. I need to figure out who I am without all of this noise. And maybe you do too." We sat there for a long time, neither of us speaking, until I stood and went to pack a small bag. I didn't take much, just some clothes, my keys, and my phone. I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't want this ending to be loud or ugly. I just walked out, into the night, breathing the cool air like it was the first real breath I'd taken in months. The next few weeks were hard. I won't pretend I wasn't broken. I was. I went through every emotion, anger, sadness, numbness, and I let myself feel all of it. But something unexpected happened during that time. I started to remember who I was before everything became about us. I went for long drives with the windows down. I reconnected with old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. I started sketching again, something I hadn't done since college. And slowly, I began to feel alive again. One morning, about a month later, I woke up, made coffee, and realized I hadn't thought about Hannah for a whole day. Not once. It was like my heart was quietly stitching itself back together, and I didn't even notice until it happened. I don't know what the future holds for Hannah and me. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other someday, or maybe we won't. But for the first time, I'm okay with that. I'm okay because I know I'm stronger than I thought, and I know that I deserve someone who doesn't make me question my worth. That night, standing in my tiny rented apartment, I looked at the city lights outside my window and smiled. It wasn't the life I planned, but it was mine, and that was enough.